Okay, okay, so finally, so I'm kind of like 15 minutes late into the stream, and it's due to some unforeseen circumstances, one of which was my modem running out of data, subbit, and then OBS wasn't streaming to YouTube. I had to install OBS quickly. Then YouTube also asked me to verify, which I was doing all this while. To go through, sign into my Google account and verify all over again. So those are some things that delayed me. Hope everyone is having a great day, and on Gigowi it seems like I might have to stop. Like at this point I'm kind of overwhelmed, put it that way. Because the original vision I had, immediately I realized that it couldn't work that way. And I realized again that okay, so it's kind of crazy, let me just put it that way. I realized also that okay, let me fine tune it for mass adoption. That was what I was targeting. Because the original vision I felt like I couldn't do it. And what I was fine tuning for mass adoption also turns out that it was kind of confusing to pitch, put it that way. At that point, yeah. At that point, so I now realized I didn't really need to like fine tune it. When I say mass adoption, okay, make it in a way whereby because the original vision was something like Upwork. I cannot handle something like that. I just needed to fine tune it a bit, yeah. I needed to fine tune it a bit and basically get it running. And that fine tuning a bit was to fine tune it to fit into business, more business use case. So at this point, I might need to pivot again. And even if I'm able to get it over the line before the Gemini XPrize submission, my submission will be weak because your requirement is they give you 3 months to actually at least have some revenue. But that 3 months basically on my end, I haven't been able to like make tangible revenue or anything, and that's like a requirement of the competition. That's like a requirement of the competition. That's why I was like, I might just, you know, take my eyes off that and focus more on building it for a long time because hackathon aside, one thing that works for product is you being able to build for real world usage. Let me put it that way. You're being able to build for real world usage. That's what really matters. Nothing more, nothing less. A lot of part of the UI I was able to complete yesterday, but on completing it, if you notice, I took out the chat feature because it's an MVP that people use. Yeah, it's an MVP that people will use, and chat is an MVP when the main thing we should focus on is the core value. And looking at the core value, I found out that I still made some things that won't really sell because the reality is a single dev like me, a single developer like me, it will be difficult for a single developer to be building a two-way platform easily. You only build and target one. You only build to target one. Yeah, that's how it works. So you only build and target one source, then the other source can use it to sell to their customers. That's the reality. That's one easy thing. Because this is based off experience. I built certain two-way platform. I've worked on companies and startups with two-way platform, and it didn't go well. Let me be honest about that. So me going into that is like another tap-it idea, and there's a good chance it's not something I can handle. Two-way platform works in scenarios whereby there is VC funding and all that. But this idea is really good because if you notice, in the age of AI, distribution is everything. Distribution Okay, so that's basically what I'm saying is I really need to build for my reality as a developer. I really need to build for my reality. And sadly enough, I have to admit in this case, I'm not sure I can make it for the Gemini XPrize hacker team. Currently, I'm still doing stuff building. I'm still working on some stuff. You can see here, even though like anti-gravity is still messing up my flow. Let me be honest with that, because there are some basic things like it's still making me mistake. So earlier today, I brainstormed with Claude and basically decided to review some stuff. Even though my Claude this thing has been exhausted, limit for this week has been exhausted. But look at what anti-gravity is still writing. Basically, it doesn't get the full flow. And I think, I don't know how Google worked on this, but Gemini makes such kind of issues. Because the reality is, business name is taking during the onboarding session. So I don't know what they are saying. But anti-gravity coding agents, sometimes it works fine, especially in cases of when you're building a user interface. It works beautifully well. Maybe the skills and you have something really amazing. But when it comes down to logic, sometimes you'll be seeing emojis in your code. That is when you're talking about the backend. You'll be seeing emojis in your code and all that. And it's not really nice to be seeing something like that. It's not really nice. And that's my issue with Gemini in general anti-gravity. Why would I be seeing emojis in my code? And aside the emojis, the logic sometimes is too verbal, some things are unnecessary. And sometimes it doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work. And the gravity will be looping. And then it basically sometimes just gives up. Not anti-gravity. I feel it's a Gemini issue because anti-gravity, cloned with anti-gravity works real good. That's the reality. There's a Gemini issue. So that's the reality of it. It's very sad. And this week also, I have things that I really like. That is from this point, that is tomorrow, Friday, Saturday. I have things that really keep me like, yeah, I'll be burying my dad and all that. So I am not sure I'll really be chanced for that. Yeah. So this that's on the stream I had during this streaming. The ratio was all about okay, I lost my dad. So I won't be chanced. So now we're brainstorming about this and some issue. So technically I might not be able to submit. And since they want to put a a revenue generating product for the hacker team, I know that out of the three categories, there's one I cannot really meet up with. Yeah, there's one I cannot really meet up with, which is sad, but that's the reality, and I need to be honest with myself. Okay, so I think that's it. Check out some news and then get to call it a day. Also, the new OBS is kind of crazy the way it behaves. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of like glitchy. Let me share this. Let me go get on TechCrunch and see if there's a really interesting news there. Let me see what's this. An unreleased anthropic model made progress on one of math's biggest unsolved problems. Okay. I saw this news yesterday, I think. What now stops me from basically typing? I saw the news, it's all about Anthropic wanting to like watermark AI generated content to make it easy to know what's generated by AI. But what stops me from typing it out? How will you identify that it's AI? I could remember a recent a recent video I watched, and a book written in 1800s was analyzed using AI. AI was saying 50% of the book was written with AI. How possible is that? So that's why I used to stress that the whole idea of using AI to identify AI, it also implies that AI will be so good to make the AI not understand, because it's still machine. It's still machine. Uber surprised robotics company served by selling its entire stake. Yeah, according to regulatory finding that shows that the company reduced its stake in 2025. Still, the final sell-off came as a surprise to Sal, which learned about it once it was officially disclosed. Immediately which your comment. So once that company has started to diverge on business side, start as Postmates X, the robotics division of the on-demand delivery startup Postmates that Uber acquired in 2024 for 2.6 billion to 65 billion. A year later, the division spun out as an independent company called Serve Robotics, a name taken from the autonomous sidewalk of delivery board that was developed and piloted by Postmates X. Blue Sky. So I think at this point we have to call it a day. I just wonder that something is wrong. So we have to call it a day and have a lovely day ahead. Bye for now.